Hello, everyone. Amanda Testa here with Find Your Feminine Fire, and I am super excited to have the gorgeous Joyce Oladipo here today. And Joyce is a sex and intimacy coach. I love this because her goal in life, her mission is to help women rise above mediocre sex. And yes to that. She helps successful women deepen their sexual bliss, ignite mind-blowing chemistry, and experiencing deep body-awakening orgasms for life. I love this so much. More drunken love, luscious sexuality, lasting passion, ravishment, and connected relationships for all. Woohoo!
Woohoo, right?
Welcome, Joyce. I am so happy to have you today.
Such an honor to be on your show today as well. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, yes. So I'd love if there's anything else that you'd like to say about your story. And I just love what you're doing in the world and would love to learn a little bit more about what led you here.
Yeah, I would love to share my story about 2016, I had a lot of issues in my relationship. I was a business coach. I wasn't inspired in my business because my relationship was falling apart. So I have two beautiful kids. I wasn't able to communicate with my husband. I have a lot of issues with my sexuality. I'm not going to say that I'm the only one that is causing the problem, but sex for me my sexual experience was full of pain. I had a lot of shame around my sexuality. I was told I was going to burn in hell if I have sex with a partner very earlier on. And because of that, I was so blocked. I really didn't know what I desire. And my sexual experience with my husband was just so painful. You know, I have two beautiful kids, but every moment with him was just so torturous. And when I started my own business and things were kind of like rolling quite well, I kind of got to a level where I was really, really okay. I mean, I can rise. But then I got totally blocked because I realized that my creativity had to come from within. During those times, I was always looking up to a coach to tell me what I have to do because I really didn't trust in myself. And I started to lose my own unique voice. And because of that, it actually impacted my business. I wasn't able to connect with my audience. I wasn't feeling so inspired. My income dipped. And I was so depressed in my life. So I had to start figuring out ways that I have to, to start making things better. And I remember 2016, I spoke to my husband. I said I wanted to file for a divorce. I was 40. And I just said, I really want to start looking for something new, that I felt inside of me. There's something out there for me that is bigger, that I'm just living in a mediocre relationship and just having mediocre sex. I mean, for me, mediocre sex was like awful. It was like 6 times a year. Maximum I can get was 10 times. And that 10 times was fucking painful. Sorry about that. But yeah, so my experience was pretty awful. And then he told me about giving our relationship a shot, speaking to someone to see if I can get support. And a friend of mine now told me about love coaching. I never heard that there was anything called love coaching before. I just thought it was business coaching, life coaching, nutritionists, and things like that. And I decided to hire a love coach, and I worked with her for 6 months. And I started to do a lot of internal work to set myself free, to liberate my own sensation, to feel into what I desire. And things started to shift for me there. And from there, I just realized that the transformation that I got from my experience with this lady, I loved it. I just felt that the transformation was so deep that it healed my relationship. It healed my relationship with my partner, and it healed my relationship with my kids. It made me a better person. And I was able to really tap into my own inner voice. I trusted myself more. I trusted my own intuition. I trusted my own sensation. And from there, I started to think of recreating my own brand, recreating my own business, and things kind of like rolled from there.
Beautiful. I think it's such a powerful realization that you had to realize, this depression, you had everything from the outside look great. You had a successful business, the beautiful family, which so many women, I think, have that, and they think all the boxes are checked, but yet they're still not happy. And they may, and that sexuality piece is such a huge part. And so you mentioned that, it was kind of torturous, but you and your husband, really gave it your all and invested in help and got a coach. And I would love to know, a little bit more. I think many of my listeners can relate to, being in a sexless marriage or having struggles around that. And I'd love if you could just touch a little bit more on some of the things that have really transpired with you and your partner to kind of bring back the pleasure.
Yeah, one of the things that I introduced into my relationship was the Erotic Blueprint. That's something that I'm teaching my own client myself. And going through the Erotic Blueprint course myself and also introducing my partner to it, I realized that he has some sexual needs and I had some sexual needs as well. Because sometimes we always feel that we want to experience pleasure a certain way, but there are 5 different types of ways of experiencing pleasure. And if we could just communicate that to each other and figure out how we can have our needs fed and also figure out the shame around it and fall in love with ourselves more, that would allow us to actually be there for each other. And as soon as I knew that my husband was more of a sexual person, and I am more of a sensual archetype with a little bit of a kinky side, which I actually didn't know because I had a lot of shame around it. Communication between us became a little bit more, even not a little bit more, absolutely amazing. Now I know that when he wants to be with me intimately, it doesn't mean that he just wants to get off. He really wants to have some need met. And actually he feels that he's showing love with me, to me when he is being intimate with me. And I'm more of the sensual person. I really love to be given attention. I love to I love that moment where pleasure is from the morning to the very end. I really don't want you to pound on me very quickly. I just like that pleasurable moment. And the more I communicated my need to my partner, that I am sensual, I love physical touch. I love to be nurtured. I love foreplay during the day, carry on, passion, communication, that lights me up when we really do want to make love, that it makes things a little bit better. So because we knew our sexual archetype, that allow us to work with each other. So we're able to feed each other's need, and we're able to satisfy each other's need when we're there for each other. And something that I also notice is I don't really have to have all my sexual needs fulfilled by my partner. I could start thinking of ways that I could actually take care of my sensual side, right? I can get into self-pleasuring. I can get into having a hot bath. I can get into a lot of things that I could do for myself. And my husband can also get into things that would satisfy his own needs as well. Because in relationship, we're there to partner with each other. We're not necessarily there to fulfill each other's need. We come into a relationship fully present. We've come into a relationship fully complete. And when we do that, that allows us to just have our partner has an added bonus into our lives. So one thing that I focus on is I make sure that I am fully fed before I am actually taking action with my husband. If I am not fully fed, that's when I'm overly demanding. I'm saying that he's not good enough and he's not that, and he's not that. And I complain a lot. He also complains a lot. But then I realized that as soon as we start getting our own needs met ourselves, that would improve the passion between us instead of us having to complain and judge.
Yeah, I think that's such a powerful thing, to not expect everything from your partner when it comes to sex, and that you can take responsibility for that as well. And just for the listeners who may not be aware of what the erotic blueprints are, you touched on that a little bit. Do you mind going into a little more detail on what exactly that is?
Exactly. There are about 5 sexual archetypes, not erotic archetypes that I know of. There is energetic, there is sensual, sexual, kinky, and there's a shapeshifter. So there's a questionnaire that most of my clients have to take. And through the questionnaire, they will realize the type of sexual or erotic blueprint that they are. You can be erotic and like for me, I'm sensual and a little bit of kinky, which I love. There's different types of kinky as well. There's those strong, hard ones, but I'm more of the naughty kinky that like to, kind of like break the taboo kind of bit. That's what I am. My husband is also sexual. He's not necessarily kinky, but he plays along with me. So there's kinky, so there's kinky. So you can be, by doing the questionnaire, you figure out the type of archetype that you are. So there's erotic, there's energetic, there's sensual, there's sexual, there's shapeshifter, right? And by knowing the type of sexual archetype that you are, you're able to figure out what are the positive aspects, what is it that the person actually needs with different types of erotic blueprint. And then you can also work through the shadows, because what keeps us small or keep us having boring sex is because we're hiding behind the shadows of what we desire. We always feel that maybe if I declare that I'm a kinky, maybe they're going to feel that I am abused when I was a child, or I'm a dirty girl, or I'm a slut, or things like that. That's why a lot of us don't really want to own up to the type of blueprint that we have. Not that we necessarily don't want to own up. We actually don't know what we have. But as soon as we know what it is, it makes us to figure out what we truly need figure out the shadows around it that makes us feel dirty about it, and then also to figure out how we can actually feed those archetypes. So it's really, really important to figure out what type of erotic blueprints you are, to make the sexual experience between your partner a little bit more fulfilling and above mediocre, right? You know what I mean?
Oh, yes, I do. And I think it's so beautiful that this is an available tool, because I know you may be thinking to yourself, well, how would I even start this conversation? Like,
Yeah.
you know, especially when it's been a while since you've had intimacy, you know, bringing that up may feel challenging, or maybe your partner feels like you're insulting them or whatever it may be. So how would you kind of maybe advise someone if they want to encourage each other to take this quiz to go about doing so?
Great question there. What I tend to always tell my client is to start really small, because if you really don't have a really good communication with your partner, it's not necessarily very easy to just like go on and say, oh, you have to do this test, because even if a guy will not like it, they'll feel like, oh my God, I am really, really good in bed. Why are you telling me to go and do this quiz? I mean, a lot of people can get triggered with this. So the first thing you need to do is kind of like really have baby steps. I always talk about the couple bubble. So anytime that I need to have a private time with my partner, I always do it every day, not more than 10 minutes. I always say, can I have a bit of your time for about 10 minutes? We switch off the TV, no phone, and we just give each other permission to speak. So the more you are able to just basically communicating your needs, it allows him to also give himself permission to actually go and start sharing his own needs without judgment as well. And doing a couple bubble is more about just sharing your needs, just being a listener, honoring them, and not criticizing and judging them. So the more you do that, then communications will be more fluent. And then it'll be a lot easier for you to actually ask for what you need in bed. I don't always advise that you ask for what you need when you're really in the moment, you know, in bed with your partner. So I always like to have the conversation before. I find it actually quite arousing. My husband told me it's quite arousing. When I started to talk about the erotic blueprint with him, he found it really, really arousing and very, very interesting. So I don't necessarily talk about it in bed. So during my couple bubble of doing a continuous, you know, communication with my partner, maybe 2 or 3, he realized that, oh my God, this is a moment for me to spend quality time with my partner without judgment. At least I have a safe place where I can communicate. So during that time, when you open it up to him, he will be willing to go through it, because he knows there's no judgment, no strings attached. You've honored him, you've respected him, and things like that. So that makes communication quite better.
Beautiful. And I love that. I think you mentioned that the more you just spend that 10 minutes without judgment, and you get more comfortable really talking and knowing that you're not going to be judged. So then when it does come time to maybe go down the road and you want to do these kinky things or whatever it is, that depending on what your blueprint is, that, you know, you're much more open. I think it's so powerful too to, you know, I think so many people are maybe afraid to say what their true needs are, like you mentioned before, because of the judgments or the shadows around them. And so, you know, creating that safety that, you know, you can speak to one another without that judgment. So you're not holding a part of yourself that.
Totally. And also, you don't want to hold your husband accountable. That's something I always tell my client. Even if you want to experience one specific blueprint, you don't want to hold him accountable. You don't want to force him, because that means you're breaking his boundary. So just ask him if he's willing to go for it. That's fine. Sometimes the partner are willing to gently go through the process with you, not fully be the kinky or the sensual, whatever they might be, because some men, they might not be sensual, some are, and some ladies are not necessarily sexual. It really depends. That's why I don't really like to put anyone in a box. But when we make the proposal, we don't really want them to be that person fully. That's why I always say that we need to get in the habit of fulfilling our needs ourselves, you know, being fully fed yourself the way you want to be satisfied. So they are just an added bonus, right? They're just an added bonus. So another thing that I also introduced to couple work is just add the element of curiosity, right? That's what makes the bedroom really exciting. You know, add the element of curiosity. What do you feel like experimenting this with me? But no judgment. If you feel that this is out of your boundary, I'm willing to stop. Let me know, and I would stop. But when you make them feel guilty that they are not doing what you want them to do, they're not satisfying your needs, that's when the whole thing gets messy, right? So learn how to fulfill your own need, to feed your own archetype fully, and then let them join the play. And that's what makes it fun.
Yeah. Feed yourself fully first. That's so powerful. So you mentioned too earlier how you had the message coming along that you were going to burn in hell if you were sexual. And so kind of overcoming that huge piece. Yeah. I know that can be such a challenge.
Yes.
So do you feel like, what do you think were some of the things that really kind of helped you shift that?
It's been a long time. I mean, I would probably say I was 39 before I actually finally got sexual breakthrough, but I'm not going to say that that's going to take that long. It took long for me because I actually didn't get the support. I actually thought I was broken. You know, I'm doomed. I'm never meant to enjoy sex. So I really thought that was it for me until someone told me that, no, you're not broken. You're born to experience pleasure. And that's when I started to explore pleasure myself. But as soon as I started to work with a coach, that's when breakthrough started to happen for me. So one of the things that made, that really made the healing process really good for me was me spending quality time with myself in self-pleasure, in meditation, in doing a lot of breath work to fill into my own needs. You know, I had to do it myself because if I had my partner doing it, I'll feel a lot of shame, I'll feel a lot of block and things like that. So I had to create a safe place for myself where I'm able to do my practices, where I'm able to voice my own pain, where I'm able to feel through my own sensation, where I'm able to recreate the memories of the pain and rewrite the memories within my body. So I spend a lot of time with myself in self-pleasuring, rewriting my own sexual story, and really implanting empowering sexual belief that I am meant to be orgasmic. People adore me. I have a really beautiful yoni. I don't have a broken yoni. My yoni gave birth to 2 beautiful kids. So I really have to plant that. And I do a lot of those beliefs. I do it during self-pleasure. Sometimes I do it when I'm in my dreams. I do it just before I go to bed. I record my voice. So I do a lot of those work. And also by working with a coach, I was able to do a lot of like blueprints sessions with my coach. I also did a lot of lasering, which was like deep down into the core of where the issue was, and spending quality time with dissecting those issues, like really having a big voice, giving it a voice, because I actually spent no time with voicing it out. I actually thought that voicing it out is going to solidify that issue, right? Because that was a mindset belief that I had, that you have positive mindset, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to have negative mindsets. I had a lot of that, so I didn't want to voice it out. But the time I started to voice it out and give my inner child or the self-personality a voice and have a dialogue with it, then I started to release the tension around my body. You know, I started to release the block around my body. So those are one of the practices that I do. And another thing that I also do is every morning I spend a lot of time in, you know, kind of letting gold flood into my yoni and flood into my womb just through my crown. I love to spend a lot of time doing that. So it really warms up that place and it lights it up for me. So instead of me feeling broken, I just feel that the universe has just, you know, flood a huge amount of gold in there. And I just own that gold and all through, you know, all through my life, really.
I love that.
Yeah.
Owning the gold all through your life. That feels so good. And I think it's so powerful, this work that you're doing, because I know so many women who are maybe struggling, or just, you know, that's just the conditioning that we have, that at least for me growing up, a lot of the time it was like, you know, sex isn't really for you, it's for men. And I know from a lot of women out there who've told me that, you know, things their doctors have said to them, or, you know, after a certain age, well, you know, that's just going to be something you're going to have to deal with. Painful sex is something you're going to have to deal with. You're just going to have to use some lube, you know, whatever it is. And so I know that's so disheartening for many women. So I think this is such amazing, powerful work, because that is not your only option.
Totally. And also another thing that I also realized that you also teach is Jade Egg. Jade Egg is also a very, very powerful tool that I use. I use it all the time, at least 4 times a week. And I just, you know, stick it down in my yoni, and I just kind of do a lot of breath work, and I do a lot of practices with it, like moving my pelvic floor. And sometimes I really do a jungle dance with it in there. I love to feel it in there. Sometimes I do a Beyonce dance with it just to feel it in there, because it brings a lot of sensations around that place. Because at first I was really scared of having something around there. It just hurt so bad, and I felt a lot of pain around it. And then I'll have a lot of yeast infection, had that for so many years. But now feeling the jade egg in there started to bring some sensation. I started to feel some pulsation around my yoni. And I started to have that natural lubricant that just comes out. I really, really love it. And I introduced the jade egg to my husband as well. So he loves to do a lot of dehammering for me. So during our time together, he loves to, oh my God, those were one of those precious moments that I had with him where he would just like, circle my yoni with the stone, and for me to just relax. And that's how I learned how to actually relax, in my body, because I was always like tense all the time, just tense as if someone's going to kill me. So now he just like massages my yoni with that stone. And over time, I started to relax that, oh my God, no one's going to hurt me, right? It's not broken. Big animals are going to fly out from that place. So I started to relax and relax and relax and relax, and things started to flow.
And I think, allowing yourself to have that experience with him where it could be healing, and that, you don't always have to give. You can also receive.
Totally.
That's such a huge lesson.
It was. Yeah, it was. Instead of you doing it by yourself. I mean, if you're single, you can do it by yourself, because as I said, I spend quality time by myself. I mean, almost 80% of my time I used to feed myself. 80% of my time. I really love it because I feel that I'm getting what I want than me having to depend on my partner. And when I'm fully fed, he actually loves me more because he knows that I'm like really in the moment, instead of me like having to, push and pull. I'm really in the moment, and I can really spend time in my own body as well. So he loves it when I'm fully fed as well. But yeah, by just be staying in tune with your body, that allows us to, as a single person, you can really spend quality time with yourself. If you're sexual, do whatever it takes to have your needs met. If you're sensual, do whatever it takes to have your needs met. And if you have a partner, you can get them involved as well. But you don't have to have them fulfill your need 100%. If they're going to do that, they are going to disappoint you, because they have their own personal issues from work, from their businesses. Even the wife, we also have personal issues. We have our kids, we have our own business, we have friends, we have, I don't know, whatever it might be. So we can't be dependent on each other. We can have our own sensual moment by ourselves, and we can have them as an added bonus.
Yeah. And I would love to know what you would say. There's so many women out there that just feel like this is, I don't have any time for that. Like, I have a million other things to do. I have zero time. Why in the world would I ever make time to self-pleasure? And I would love what you would say to those women, or, what kind of advice you would have.
Great question there. I wouldn't say that I self-pleasure every day. That's not what I do. But I do have the jade egg in my yoni, mostly in the mornings, sometimes at night. What I tend to do is I do a lot of breath work in bed for about 5 minutes. It doesn't take long for you to do breath work. You can breathe into your yoni every morning. Make sure it comes alive. And you can do your meditative practices. You can be in gratitude mode. And I do that every morning. So as I am meditating, closing my eyes, I am breathing into my yoni and moving my body and saying my affirmations and feeling into my power, because that's where my power is. That's where my creative power is. That's where my queenhood power is. And I cannot disconnect from that place. So about 5 minutes before my kids pop into my bed, I do some yoni breath work. Sometimes I do some just hot breath work as well. You don't have to do that. I also love to do breast massages in the morning. So I sit up sometimes and I just do some breast massages and I just recite my mantras so that I can feel embodied. I love the empowering mantras that I like to recite, because I had a lot of lack of self-confidence for a long time. So I needed to ingrain that. So I do a lot of breast massages into it. I will do breath work into it, or I do a pussy breath breathing as well. That's also a really, really good one. But I don't necessarily like just do self-pleasuring. Self-pleasuring for me is something where I do when my husband is not at home. I don't like to do the quickie one. I like to really spend some really great time doing self-pleasuring. So I can use a dildo, I can use a jade egg, then I have a meditative practice. Then it might take about 20 minutes. So not every time I do that, but as a mother, very quick, I try to do at least 5 minutes a day. I have to do 5 minutes a day. If not, I feel so disconnected. Before anyone comes into my day, I need to spend quality time with myself. And that I owe it to myself. So I don't overstress it out. 5 minutes of my day. And when I do that, I go into the kitchen, have a glass of water, then I go out. At least I've started my day with a high vibe. then things roll from there.
That is the 5 minutes. I love that. You know, it's
5 minutes. Yeah.
But it's just that intention and that connection.
Yeah, definitely. Just that intention. Just wake up into it and you feel into it. You just move into it. You roll into it. And then you let your partner know. 5 minutes of my time. He would know anyway. By the time you've been doing it frequently, he knows when you're into it and he'll give you your time. And it really flies by.
Yeah. And I feel like once your partner knows what you're up to and like they respect that and they'll give you the time.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like before bed. I always need like 20 minutes before bed. And he's like, whatever you do in there, it's fine with me, you know, because he actually knows it makes me more receptive to him. And also it makes me happier. And I think they get supportive and it's inspiring to them as well.
Totally. Totally. It does. And a lot of people put their sexuality, the bottom part of their list. And it's one of the needs that we need to have fulfilled because there are a lot of diseases, depression, you know, depression comes from pain and worries, you know, so sexuality is a very, very powerful aspect. It lets the energy flow through you. You can stay connected with your body. The oxytocin just goes through, right? My husband always said he uses it to relax, you know, so it's an important aspect for our life, and we need to make it a priority. It should not be that, oh, my husband is a priority, my kids is my priority, my job is not my priority. No, I actually put my sexuality, myself, on my list because that's what makes me feel so powerful, feel so juicy, feel so connected to myself. When I go out in the world, I know that I'm tapped into my magnetism, you know, and people can feel that energy. Sexual energy is where my power is, and I don't play with it. I don't want anyone to steal that off me. So a lot of women have to tap into that because there's sickness, as I said, depression, headaches, or whatever, because we're blocked somewhere. We're blocked by our waist. There's a lot of cancerous diseases, or we're so disconnected from the world because we're not alive. So the more we are connected, the more we feel buzz and feel buzz in our body. We feel that we actually own the power. Instead of us thinking that we need to get it from a coach, we need to get it from a boyfriend or a husband, we actually feel that buzz from within. And I feel that it always changes our mindset in life and allows us to just go after our dreams.
And it helps you connect to that within yourself. I love how you mentioned that quite a few times because I think a lot of times we will think, oh, well, this next thing will give me what I need, but we have it within us. It's just learning how to tap into that. And that energy is how you do it. It's an amazing way to do it.
And that's where all our inspirations come from, because I've spent so much money on coaching. And then I realized that they actually were inspired by their ideas as well. Right? So why can't I just be the first of getting my own ideas? Why do I have to always go and learn from someone else? I'm not saying it's a bad thing to learn from someone else, but they were also inspired somehow, right? So why can't I be inspired? Why can't I be the first? The power is always within. We're learning because learning is great. It actually plays with our brain a bit. It triggers a few things in our brain, but when we go within is where the uniqueness comes through. Especially if we're business owners, but I don't know if you have business followers.
Right. Well, the thing that's interesting too, I do, as a matter of fact, there's a lot of women who also are entrepreneurs and, working women and mothers too. But I think what you just mentioned that stood out to me about how, you're getting the inspiration from yourself. But the beauty of, working with these women or these coaches in the past is that it's helped you find your own key. I think we talked about that in a session with Layla, is that we will help you find your own keys. Like you got it all within you. It's just sometimes you need help figuring out that again or reminding yourself.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And I think too, it's interesting how, you mentioned too, with regards to, not feeling everything is for everyone else, it's not for your husband, it's not for your kids. That's part of it. But how your sexuality is just a part of your nature as a human. We often forget that as women, it's everything else, but it is a vital part of your holistic health. And when you do have maybe an atrophy in one area of your life, you're going to notice it everywhere. And maybe off the bat, you won't notice it, but upon deeper reflection, you might. And I don't know, I'll just, for my own personal experience, I've been thinking about this lately a lot because before I met my husband, I was in an 8-year relationship that was totally unfulfilling. And, I think every time I got out of having sex with him, I would do a little dance of joy in my bed, pretending to be asleep. And so I can relate to that feeling, but then knowing what a huge part of myself was depressed. I was anxious. I would overeat. I would drink anything to like numb the discomfort I felt.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I find it interesting how we don't necessarily always realize what could be at the root of this. And so often it's our sexuality, but we just kind of have to peel back the onion a little bit to realize that. And I think I would love to hear your 2 cents on this too, but I feel like it's kind of the key.
Totally.
It's like when you start healing things at that level, then everything else, it just heals more quickly.
Totally. It's all right. I was also an alcoholic. I'm not going to say I was a strong one, but I still want to say that it's what it is, because I drank most of my evenings because I just wanted to stay numb. I didn't want to connect with my sensation. I just want to just be out of this world. So my kids always say, Mommy, you get knocked out. I mean, I'm always getting knocked out at 7 because I've drank so much. And when I started to work with my sexuality, I started to heal my shadows, because there's a lot of healing. It's not only about, okay, feeling orgasmic all the time or feeling total bliss. There's always a shadow behind those sexuality. That's why we work with the blueprint. There's always a shadow. And if we can work through the shadows, it always brings up things from our past that we probably need to discuss and break through. And that's when the freedom comes through, right? We always have a judgment with one particular person because you feel that person is having too much sex, or we feel that this person is too kinky, or we feel that these people they're dating multiple guys, or they're in an open relationship. But there's a lot of shadows around that, right? So by working with our sexualities and working through the shadows, it allows us to see the blocks that is holding us back. Why are we not stepping up? Why are we feeling the shame around this? Maybe it's something that we truly desire, but because of our stories around it, we have blocked ourselves from moving forward in this. And it always plays in all areas of our lives. When I realized that I wasn't fully sexually expressed, I wasn't fully expressed in my business. I wasn't expressed in my life. When I was with friends, I always felt intimidated. I don't want to show up. So I always hide. I hid all through. When I was in my business, I don't like to do videos. I just like to hide behind, with a little post here and there. And I feel that I want to, but I was just, scared of being judged, scared of being criticized. I had a lot of stories around it, right? So I started to work through that by, because when I make love with my husband, one of the shadows was I like to make love when the light is dark, because I don't like to be visible. I don't like him to see me, right? So gradually I started to work through that. I started to love the way I look. I started to love my own body. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I still have to love what I have. And from there, it started to give me permission to show up for myself. To talk, to do the interview with you, to start showing up on videos, right? So they're always interlinked. We always feel that they're separated, but they're not. And also with my sexuality, I was able to work with my self-worth. I actually felt that I always have to be giving and giving and giving and giving and giving to the kids, giving to in-laws, giving to husband, giving to whoever I know. But then I wasn't receiving. I wasn't receiving from everyone. I always felt like I always have to justify myself because I didn't feel worthy of it, but through my sexuality, you can learn how to personal development through anything. But for me, it just kind of clicked for me with sexuality because it was internal. Somehow it just felt so real. Working with the sexual energy, it just clicked in my primal brain. It went deeper. So self-worth for me is, I wonder, what is self-worth? I just go for what I want, and I just pretty much feel that I deserve it. I couldn't care less what people are saying because I just felt, why not? I am born here. I was chosen to be in this body for a particular reason. So I have no doubt why I should feel that I should not do one particular thing that is meant for someone else. Why would I have to feel like that? But I had to get to that stage with sexuality. If I hadn't done that work, I always still feel that I need to hide under a shadow of someone else. I always feel not good enough. I always hide behind my mother's story or my sister's story that I am second, I am this. I always have to hide. But now I just feel I'm deserving. And it's just deep down that did it. It was just clicked deep down in my primal brain. So sexuality is a powerful thing. It's not only about having passionate sex. It's deep work. It does take some time. We have to invest our time in it and believe that we can create transformation through sexuality and know that we can. We have power to do it, right? And if we feel that way, things will shift. If we always feel that our power is externally, we would always lose. Because also something else that I noticed, with every growth that I have, there's always a mindset block that I have to go through. right? I can read books, but still my body tells me what it is. You know, I want to rise up in life. I can feel the sensation in my body. And then I spend good quality time doing some breath work with Jade Egg. And then I can work through that flow. I can work through that flow. And then I'm able to break through to the next level.
Yeah. And then I love how you're, you know, doing this for your daughters too. I think this is like the other amazing reason that we do this work is for the next generation.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can feel worthy and deserving as they are.
Totally.
In their body.
Without feeling shame. And one thing I always teach my kids, and we haven't done sexuality work, was to tap into their sensation. Always feel that their power is in within. If they're feeling upset and they're like fighting on things, I'm like, how do you feel inside? How do you feel inside? And your feelings will tell you everything. You know, it's because she thinks that she's better than me. Why? Because my belly is feeling weird and things like that. The power is so there. And then I can coach her. I'm not going to say coach. And then I can tell her, she's not better than you. She's just different. She's different. And she also have the right to have a voice, just as you are. You right? But you just need to communicate. So there's loads of ways that we can use our inner sexual power to transform our own lives, to transform our friends' life, to transform a generation, even to transform the world. And this is a power that, I don't know, men want to take from us, right? They want to make it dirty. They want to make it shitty. But it's not that, right? Our power is sacred, is pure and powerful. And we need to take our power back. We should not let anyone tell us what our sexuality should be. We should own it and define what it is for ourselves.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Joyce. And before we go, I'd love if you could share where everyone can find you.
Yes, you can find me on enchantlife.com. And you can also find me on Facebook, Joyce Oladipo, and on Instagram, Joyce Oladipo as well.
Beautiful. And I'll make sure to post in the notes so everyone can find you. And is there any last words you'd like to share with everyone before we close today?
The only thing I will share is make pleasure first. Yeah. Make your pleasure first. Own it. Make it your first in your life. And yeah, just embrace it. Make pleasure first. Pleasure can be anything. Buying flowers for yourself, breast massage, having a nice hot bath, eating healthy, right? Just brushing through your hair, just having great affirmations, looking through your pussy by the mirror. Pleasure can be anything. Just make sure that your pleasure is first.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And please feel free, if you have questions, to post them in the comments, and we will make sure to get back to you with those as quickly as we can. And thank you so much again, Joyce, for being here. And if you think anyone can benefit from this amazing information that we shared today, please share this with other women or anyone who you think could benefit. And we will see you soon. Thank you so much for being here.
We'll see you soon.